not exactly hidden. He looks exhausted. They both do. Quarurla notes wryly as she opens the door for Dale to carry in the two exhausted trainees. His boots unlace themselves and he steps out of them so as not to trail dirt through her home. Side effect of the training, we're getting them to be more and more active and it wears them down quickly. He confesses before chuckling. Well, quickly by human standards at any rate. Compared to their peers, these two have boundless energy. When I agreed to host a sleepover, I didn't expect there to be much sleeping involved, she says in an amused tone as she leads the way through her home and into Jeth's room where a cot has also been set up. Jeth is on the bed and Mux is placed on the cot. They're both then relieved of their shoes and covered in warm blankets. My apologies, ma'am. I could wake them both up and give them some sugar. That'll get them bouncing off the walls properly, he remarks with a grin. You'll do no such thing. Quarurla states firmly. This will give us some time to talk. I'm worried about, well, many things I'd wager, Dale says, and she nods. As does Marley Morrow. She's actually getting some groceries at the moment and will be here shortly. We're both concerned about our boys, she says. Of course. We've basically taken over most of their schooling and you naturally have some questions. Yes, it's more about learning to be a sorcerer. What are their math skills like, or their ability to read and write Galactic Basic, Modern Cinder, or Traditional Cinder Tongue? She asks, and he nods. Certainly. I'll answer everything when Marley arrives. Make sure there's no confusion between you. Incidentally, where are your daughters? I expected to see them. They're at numerous friends' houses. Marley and I wanted to speak to you in private over some things, and young girls have a tendency to overhear things they really shouldn't, Quar says, and Dale nods. Of course. This is just a typical parent-teacher meeting. Nothing for anyone to get worked up about. That's how you see this? We're basically running a boarding school in my mind. A few of us, myself included, have been looking into getting full-on teaching licenses, really streamline things and make them official. Dale admits, and Quar lets out a thoughtful sound. There's a knock at the door. Please, make yourself comfortable. I'll let Marley in and we can speak, Quar says, and Dale nods before heading into the living room and sinking into one of the plush chairs. It has one or two small patches where it had been burnt, likely due to an over-enthusiastic Apuk child. He hears Quarurla welcome in Marley Morrow. Did you find what you were looking for? Quar asks after she lets Marley in. Oh yes, Paratak lard and bones are so much cheaper around here than it is back home. Have they arrived yet? Marley asks. They have, but our boys seem to be completely exhausted. They're already tucked into bed and Dale is still here. He is. Marley asks in excitement and Dale chuckles a little. I am. He calls out from the living room and both women go quiet for a moment. He settles comfortably into the chair and just waits for them to come to him. He's not entirely certain where to go when it comes to talking to a lot of the ladies of the galaxy. Many of them take simple good manners and a friendly attitude as an invitation for more. Not that he's all that opposed to it. He's yet to see an alien girl that isn't damn fine in every way you care to name, but there just doesn't seem to be a proper way to go about this situation. Of course, if he were back home, his mother would already be giving him a talking to about seeing two women at once, even with his uncle flashing a thumbs up behind her back before making himself scarce. But out here, this was considered going slowly and carefully now, wasn't it? How strange. In contrast to Quarurla's more housewife attire of an ankle-length skirt and blouse, Marley Morrow is very much a businesswoman complete with a dark green suit. Not a high-up pencil pusher from Dale's understanding, but a respectable one. The accountant of a large hospital may not be as valued as a head doctor or even a talented surgeon, but they were vital in the service of their community. When did you arrive? she asks. Just a few minutes ago. Little Mux is fairly exhausted, so he's already tucked in and asleep. Is he now? Excuse me, she says, setting her bag of groceries down on the couch and quickly walking through to peek in on the sleeping children. It's normally a bit of a fight to get him to bed this early. What did you do? They've been working on both earth control and building today. In order to get them some exercise while they're at it, we also made sure that they did a lot of lifting. He might be a little stiff tomorrow, but he's not so much as bruised. Dinner was thinly sliced fish of several varieties and a warm broth made from boiling the leftover bones after they had been charred over an open flame. How much lifting? No more than they could handle. I and several others were nearby at all times to steady them or to carry the load if they started to falter. The problem with getting stronger is that it's not a fast process. Not usually anyways. It could be sped up with Axiom, but they're earning far more than just strength by exercising. Will, determination, and discipline are very important things to have. What do you have them building? A group project. The youngest 3 trainees are coming together to build their own building in the village. It's thoroughly tested before anyone enters it, and they're given all the time and materials they need to get it right. Once they can make one as a team, each one of them will be making a building of their own. In what style? Feudal Japanese architecture, which means very sturdy pillars that lead up to a very sturdy roof. Japan is an earthquake-prone country, but is rather warm much of the year. So the buildings are solid and more designed to keep out insects and wind than keep in the heat. Of course, they're still having some trouble with the foundations, and until they get that right, the rest of the building is going to come down over and over again, Dale remarks. I see. I do have another question. It's about the food. I've heard my little Mux say that he heard something was called shit on a shingle. I had it translated and, well, Marley asks and Dale snorts. It's more amusing to call it that than creamed beef on toast, Dale says before chuckling. It was a war ration initially, but it's tasty enough and the ingredients, if prepared properly, can keep and keep and keep. We substituted some local ranched meat for the beef and it turned out pretty great. Although according to the more homegrown sorcerers, it was pretty rich fare. It got its nickname because for all that it's a healthy, tasty, and filling thing to have, it's not the prettiest dish. I see. Thank you for explaining that. I was worried for a moment that there was some very strange and disgusting ritual going on. Oh no, nothing of the sort. The grossest thing that happened was when they were not being careful enough and caused a rupture in the organs of an animal I was butchering. A fair amount of the organs were tainted because of that, and we had to give them another talking to about horsing around when somebody's working with something sharp. I hope it wasn't too much trouble. Oh, kids will be kids. They need to run around and make all the silly mistakes they do so they can learn from them and grow to be stronger, healthier people. I wouldn't be half the man I am today if I wasn't allowed to fall down and made to pick myself up more than a few times as a child. Heck, it's one of the major lessons we're trying to get them to really understand now when it comes to building their little house. Measure twice, cut once. They're so eager to eyeball everything and get to work that they're not making sure, and it's one of the major reasons they have to keep starting over and over again. They'll understand the lesson soon enough, and in the meantime they're getting all sorts of practical skills and physical education, Dale explains. Now, are there any other concerns or questions? I was told that you've been confiscating their communicators when in the woods and was wondering why, Quarurla says. Right. Well, the thing is that communicators are very, very distracting. Until they have the discipline to not wander off and ignore everything in favor of some silly little game, we're going to have to keep them off their hands while in the woods. It's a fairly safe place for any sorcerer, but someone who's perpetually distracted is just going to get themselves hurt no matter where they are. Dale explains, and the mothers nod. Now, I mentioned to Quar earlier that I was hoping to get a teaching license. But what are you two most concerned about when it comes to Jeth and Mux? Are there any places you want us to focus on teaching them, or certain tests you want them to be able to pass? Having Mux pass his mathematical aptitude tests would be a blessing, although from my understanding there's also a great ease in learning traditional Cinder tongue. There is. It's been used by sorcerers for so long that it's more or less the official language of the Dark Forest. You learn it as fast, if not faster than anything else. They've been starting to use a few Cinder tongue words in their day-to-day speech, Dale says. I see. So that's some classical training out of the way, but mechanical understanding, Marley muses. Perhaps we shouldn't push them too hard. I tried to keep my little Jeth safe, and all it did was make him want out even more. Quar says, somewhat morosely. We try to keep things at a reasonable pace, but learning on the job is a big part of things. So they need mathematics, knowledge of Apuk languages, both modern and classical, as well as galactic trade, mechanical aptitude, and the other skills of a sorcerer. Perhaps Bryn Char would be the best to tag in for that. The man owns his own businesses on top of everything else, so he should at least be able to point us in the right direction. Wait, you have the Bone Chewer teaching them? If you're not an Orega girl, he's just a slightly more formal than normal sorcerer, although he is dreading the upcoming movie, Dale says with a smile. Dreading? Apparently the well-made movies remind him of the bad times too much, where the badly made ones are just funny. He apparently has a collection. I could have sworn you were in it, Marley notes, and Dale snorts in amusement before chuckling. I know, it's going to be gloriously stupid. They know just enough about Earth stereotypes to make a complete mockery of things, and I can't wait, he says around his chuckles. He's keeping it down so he doesn't wake the kids, but it's not easy. You think it's funny? Quar asks. Oh my goodness, yes. See, I come from a part of my home world where there are certain stereotypes flying around, mostly due to people from more urban areas just popping through, assuming the worst and leaving, not realizing that they're leaving as bad an impression as they get. Anyways, I'm a good old Southern boy, meaning good manners, good grace, and a good many skills about getting by without all that much. Makes me seem like a simple bumpkin to city slickers, but they seem pretty helpless and like they'd get lost in someone's front lawn, let alone the back roads and forests. And it's funny to you? Quar asks again. Of course. What could be funnier than someone thinking they're winning some big argument or insult and just proving themselves ignorant? It's like winning a fight without even having to touch the fool. And where did this accent come from? Marley asks with a slightly amused smile. Oh, sorry, it comes out, I get excited, Dale says without a trace of the accent in his voice. Are there any other questions? From what I understand, you humans have a much larger appetite than most races. If you'd like, would you care to stay for a snack? Quar Urla asks, and Marley Morrow smiles. I'd be delighted.